Hi, welcome back to my channel. With the advent of the Springfield SA35, which being a small channel, they're not going to send me one to test. But what's nice is it's flared interest in the Browning High Power, which to me is one of the greatest handguns of all time. One of my top faves. Probably my favorite super high capacity 9mm. Not to carry, but to just go out and shoot because it feels so good in your hands. Anyway, I'm going to show you a variant of the Browning High Power that I think a lot of you may not even be aware that it exists. And if you ever come across one and you got the bucks, buy it. All right, first of all, here it is. This is the Browning Practical. I didn't remember it was practical till my son looked it up on the internet a few minutes ago. I thought it was tactical or practical. Now, most of them are 9mm. What's unique about this one? It's in 40 Smith & Wesson. This, as the gun originally came, it would have black rubber wraparound grips like a Pachmayr grip with a Browning emblem right here. The guy I bought this off of liked the wooden grips better. I like the wooden grips better. I think the black rubber grips make it too big to fit in your hand. Now, first of all, this is not an FN assembled in Belgium gun. This is a Portuguese gun. As you can see here, we're going to try to zoom in. It says made in Belgium, assembled in Portugal. For those that are new to the high power market, that was common on the last of the FN high powers. Okay, as you can see, it's a blued slide with a nickel finished steel lower, or light chrome. I'm not sure what it is. As I said, I'm not a historian. I just shoot them and I think they're cool. But what's nice about this gun, besides it's a high power, is since this is one of the latest editions, I'm going to spin it away and you can see, I don't want to have it sit in front of the muzzle. It has white, three white spots instead of the darked out high power sights on the Mark III or the old commercials from the 50s and 60s, which I do have one of each of those. Another thing about this, and this is why this video is being done, is this one is in 40 Smith & Wesson. I know a guy that has the exact same gun in 9mm. I have never seen another 40 Smith & Wesson high power. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure they're out there, but they aren't very common. And why 40 Smith & Wesson? Well, when I was a police officer, we had 40 Smith & Wesson Berettas. So I had the same caliber as a state gun, all right? The other thing about this is that if you're in one of the authoritarian Democrat blue states where you only can have 10-round magazines, unlike the 13-round 9mm, the max capacity on this gun is 10 rounds. So we have 40, we have better sights, we have nickel grip so it won't stain from your hand. It has the ambi safeties, just like the later model high powers. So it's all in all just a great gun. Now, I want to show you something that I think is pretty unique when they came up with the magazines. This is a Mec-Gar magazine. Mec-Gar makes high power magazines. They make a good high power magazine. Now, we're going to zoom in on this, but it's hard to see. Right there you'll see, it'll say MG for Mec-Gar, BRHP-40. So this is for the 40 caliber Browning high power. And the main difference is right here, the feed lips are wider. I have a 9mm one, and you can see that the feed lips are just a little bit wider. They're a little straighter on the sides. All right, now, that's not the cool thing I want to show you. That's just basically showing you that there's a 10-round aftermarket magazine for the high power. The cool thing is in the factory magazines that I got with the gun. Now, I don't know how long they did this for, but because the high power has the magazine disconnect, and if you look on the front of this Mec-Gar right here, you'll see where the magazine disconnect is actually wearing a dull spot on the chrome, right where my fingers are. All right, the magazine doesn't drop free. Of course, I'll demonstrate and it will drop free, but see what I mean? Doesn't drop free. I'll move my inventory tag out of the way. Doesn't drop free. That's been a complaint on the high power for a long time. So what Browning did, this is a factory magazine that came with this gun. This 10 round magazine is they put a spring on the bottom of it. Right here. So what happens? You stick your 10 round magazine in. Much faster reloads. You don't have to reach up and pull the mag out. They're spring assisted. And I mean, if you look, they are actually flying quite the distance. They're not just dropping out. So that makes this gun cool. The overall gun makes it cool. We're going to take it out in the range to show you how to shoot it. Now there's one other thing in passing, because this isn't going to be a very long video, is that when they started this for the 40, they apparently kept it up on the 9s, but I've only got one 9mm magazine I've ever found that still has the spring on the bottom of it. As you can see, this is a Clinton era magazine. This is a 10 rounder that's cut off, but it still has a spring assist. This is the only one I've ever seen like this. I'd like to find more. If they made 13 rounders that had the spring, because it really makes it easier to reload the gun. Now, just a little personal thing. This is also a Mec-Gar 40. Notice it has a silver base plate on it. Why does it have a silver base plate? Because I've got a 50 caliber can full of Browning high power magazines, and when I look in and I want to pull out my 40s and not my 9s, of which some are aftermarket Mec-Gars, I just look for the silver base plate, because the silver base plate kind of matches the gun. So there's a quick overview of the high power for you. We'll take it out in the range. It has a little more muzzle flip with a 40, but it's a really interesting version of high power that is not very common. If you run across one, it's worth, especially if you're a high power fan, it's worth having, and I'll see you on the range. We're out on the range with the 40 high power. You know what? I was going to shoot the Mec-Gar magazine, but let's start out with a factory magazine just so we should prove that it works. Alright? Watch the muzzle. You'll see there's a little bit more noticeable muzzle flip. These bullets I'm shooting are from a company called National Bullet. They went out of business, I don't know, 15 years ago. So, who knows if they're going to be consistent. They've been sitting in my basement for a couple decades, maybe 2 decades. But, let's give it a whirl. That shoots effing nice. Now, remember I told you about the springs on the bottom of the magazine? Let's try a Mec-Gar mag. Let's see if I got one in here. Yeah, I do. This one's loaded with Tula. You know what Brandon has to say about Russian ammo. Obviously the Mec-Gar magazines don't work as well as the factory magazines. So let's take that one out. See what else we got. Oh, I got another Mec-Gar. Let's give this one a whirl. This one feels lighter. I wonder if I overloaded that one. Nope. What the bullets are doing are nosing down. There we go. Magazine quabble aside, when I first got started, this gun is fantastic to shoot. I know there are not a lot of 40 Browning high powers out there. Let me put my earmuffs up, and I have to speak a little louder because I'm not wearing a mic. There aren't a lot of 40 Browning high powers out there. I don't know how many, but if you ever get a chance to buy one and you got the money, don't hesitate. Thanks for coming to my channel.